5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglash for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Good morning, Phoenix. How are you doing today? I bet it's hotter than 90 down there. Woo-hoo-hoo. See, we got to pull out our Hawaiian shirts when you're probably putting on a sweater. Anyway, let's just dig in. Let's see what we got, right? Over here, I wanted to show you why a Formula E team pivoted from motorsports to marble racing. Remember back in March when I told you need to get some sports venues to think more creatively? Well, these guys did it. And they partnered with YouTube channel, which runs marble races, Jelly's Marble Races, to start a Marble E. Instead of Formula, it's Marbula E competition with real Formula E teams and on real scale tracks. And it's a very low-cost venture. I'll show it to you in a second. We their biggest challenge was to get the rights to use the names of the teams, like Mercedes and BMW. And so now they have a full schedule. They got 6 million views. Yeah, the biggest challenge was to gain the IP rights for the teams so they could mention them, which you'd think you'd want, but try to find the guy that can say yes. Raised £3 million worth of media value across 2,500 mentions, so they're getting a lot of press. But let's just go clickety-click over to see we'll watch a little bit of it for you because I know you like it.
It's race time in the Marbula E presented by Envision Virgin Racing in Paris. There's the grid, all set to go. The key is to keep your eye on one of the favourites rather than trying to watch all the marbles at the same time. 5.5 minutes plus 1 lap.
Don't try to keep all your marbles.
And we go rolling in Paris. Down into turn 1, and it's a big
crowd.
busy
It's all little
first
marbles
corner,
in the
and it is
stands.
Rocky Venturi Racing that have emerged in the lead. Make sure to let us know who you're supporting in the comments.
Now I know
Jaguar
who won
trying to make up positions in the order. Envision Virgin Racing look like they're still at the back. At the end of lap 1 is Venturi in the lead, then Cheetah second, Mercedes third, but not for long. Neo 333, the bright blue marble, comes up into second place.
That's BMW,
and that allows Rocket Venturi Racing to get a really good lead,
Mercedes
although immediately DS to Cheetah are closing back in.
And the randomness of it is a lot of fun.
But Cheetah make their move to the front now. DS to Cheetah out in first place.
How many views did this get?
Nissan are into second position. And they might even be into the lead. No, not quite. Porsche and Mahindra having quiet races in 8th and 9th. There's the change for a third place. BMW making the move. And now getting up into second place.
Too fast, they go
what
off
a charge from the blue BMW.
Right, that way they make the turn.
And all of a sudden, Cheetah, who were leading, have dropped down to 4th position. Nissan under big pressure from BMW up at the front. There's a bit of contact, and BMW are through. And Nissan might lose out here to Mercedes, and they have. So BMW in front. Mercedes second, Nissan third. Fourth is Cheetah. Venturi and Dragon just had a big coming together.
They need more crowd noise, but I've never been
look
to a
at the
car
lead
race,
now
so
for BMW.
Noise.
Absolutely huge.
Anyway,
look at that side by side there for second position.
It amazes me.
And
what
now
people will
Mercedes trying to attack BMW for the lead. Two huge German manufacturers, marble to marble. Hashtag Paris Prix if you want to get in touch.
Too huge. They should run
BMW
these races
in the
for
lead,
24
Mercedes
hours,
in second, still absolutely neck and neck as they go down the back straight through attack mode. Nothing to separate them at all.
Far apart.
2 minutes plus a lap to go.
Marbles end up.
And I think they're going to be side by side coming up at the start of this new lap. And Mercedes are in front.
Out right together.
And the clock has ticked down to 0. So this now the final lap of the race, and Venturi are into second.
Pretty much on the same lap, but barely so.
Mercedes are looking strong up in the front though.
And Mercedes
can Venturi hold on to second? BMW.
We'll stop that. Okay, let's get back to work here. Okay, so I just thought you'd like that. It's pretty funny. Anyway, and with that in mind, here's an article about brand sponsorship. The rise of brand sponsorship content and why it's here to stay. Well, of course, it's been here forever. The main advertisers in the early days of radio, early days of newspaper, were things like the cure-all formulas and soap companies and flour companies. And in fact, when radio started going away, the soap operas were mainly sponsored by companies like Procter & Gamble. And that's where the soap opera name came from, is that they would show housewives and other interesting women dealing with life. And for a while, I got addicted to some when I was in high school because I was home, because I cut class basically every other day. I had my schedule set up that way. I did get a perfect attendance award, even though cutting school was not allowed, and I went to the Brewers opening day. But I was gone so much, they just marked me in all the time. So I have that certificate, which just shows you. It's all about marketing. Okay, so anyway, one of the, it just has list after list after list. Legos, I think, is the best, because I love the Lego movies. They're really fun and amazingly done. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. So Legos did it great. But I wanted, in the history of product placement in film, there was a Marx Brothers film that ran out of money when they were trying to shoot the thing, and so they went out and raised money by selling billboards. And at the end of the movie, there's a scene where they run across the rooftops of big apartment buildings or something, flat roofed, and they run in front of all these billboards, and the billboards go by. And that's how they raise money for the film. So if you're worried about problematic content like Facebook, having your ads next to something that you just don't agree with at all, one really simple way is to get involved with a marble race or some other form of sponsored contact where you have some input into what's being shown, and then just make sure it's popular, which is the harder part. Okay, let's just look at surviving recessions. These are some cute stories. Some graduates, the class of 2008, talk about what happened to them. And I thought that was an interesting look back. And that's probably the best thing. You got to realize if you're graduating from college right now, you're pretty close to the most ignorant you'll be the rest of your life. You're going to get smarter along the way, and you're going to have more experience. Right now, you're just getting out from under the rock of education system. So you really don't know much. Can't help it. It's not your fault. It's just the way life goes, right? So anyway, here's a guy who moved to London in January of 2008. He'd been an intern in a bunch of stuff, and he had his heart set on FMCG, which is a big ad agency, and he had a first-class degree, years worth of work experience for a great company. I thought I'd find a job, no problem at all. But that's not what happened. He accepted a job on a 6-month fixed contract at Freeview, and he thought that was a really bad thing, but Freeview was a nonprofit organization funded jointly by the big UK TV stations to encourage a widespread digital switchover. It was a small company with only 17 staff, but the advantage was, instead of working for that big company, in the big company, he said he would have been tightly compartmentalized. He would have had his little job, and he would have not seen the big picture. Whereas in a company of 17, you get to learn everything, and if there's any competence you might have, that's how I learned computers. I went to work for a consulting firm of one and instantly doubled the full-time staff. And we bought a PC from 47th Street Photo. They said, "Would you like a little extra memory?" I said, "Yeah." It came with a baggie. It was $5,000. Now you can buy a mega server for $5,000. But anyway, this was a PC with no hard drive, just floppy drives and a baggie full of memory chips. So I had to open it up, and I was sweating bullets as I was trying to put that thing together. And I figured out how to do graphing with I had VisiCalc on a TRS-80, so this was probably Lotus 123 instead. It was the very first iteration of the IBM PC. And I started doing spreadsheets, and I started seeing, one of our clients said, "Why were our projections so bad?" And I said, "'Cause Vic messed. He's too optimistic." And so I started doing sensitivity analysis. Freeman Godson Jr. in his book said, if a consultant tells you how it could do, run away. They don't know. But anyway, because I was in the small company, it was very, very easy to take on stuff that no one else took on, and I became the graphics guy and the spreadsheet guy, and I started doing national presentations. I was like the only one in the world doing marketing with computers, and because I was in this little company. So it gave me a sense of how small business works and the different disciplines involved. bigger food and drink companies, my role would have been quite narrow in terms of the level of exposure. So then after 2.5 years, he got a job with the company he wanted. Okay, here's another person. 12 years ago, there was no shortage of people willing to work in unpaid internships. In fact, now, I think it was Strawberry Frog, which I follow, was actually offering to have people pay them to do an internship as a college credit thing. They decided it would be more fun to get paid to deal with the interns. So this author says that the free internships have gone away, but it might be getting worse, actually. And that, I think, that was just recently, within the last 2 months or something. Strawberry Frog, very creative people. Okay, and so Barlow internet a variety of marketing, design, and PR agencies to build her contact base and personal brand. So, and I think she was a waitress or something. She worked, at a bar, just kept busy, kept the rent paid, and worked 2 jobs and got a lot of connections. And then another guy, Adam Skoloff, looks like. He took the time off, moved out of his cramped Manhattan apartment. He's probably really glad. Spent time with his family, moved in with his in-laws. That might not have been perfect, but, hey, you do what you got to do. And he says, to those who graduated in 2020 and have been denied everything they were expecting, from graduation ceremony to a smooth transfer to the jobs market, this will have prepared you. How things play out pulled beneath you will have prepared you enormously for success. We all need obstacles. It's kind of funny. It forces us to think and be more creative. Just as each crisis is different, so each generation of new job seekers has a new, different set of tools to deal with which to face it. And I thought that was a really good article. Which brings us to my last one, which I know I'm gone way too long. Daniel Burstein says, marketers can be a force for good. Now, what's interesting is that Karl Marx thought marketing was the devil. It just added an unnecessary layer of cost to all products. But marketing enables value perception, and marketing has done a very poor job of communicating its value. 37% of Americans, only 37% had a positive view of advertising and public relations, worse than big pharma and banking. And I can kind of see that. Maybe they watch my show. We're kind of outspoken people, probably don't listen too well, and tell everybody how great we are. That gets a little old. But as Daniel points out, marketing enables choice. Marketing is like the foundation of how come we have smartphones and how come we have computers and how come, everything is awesome, because companies are allowed to communicate their message. And in repressive countries, the government picks a company and says, okay, you're the one that everybody's going to buy, and you're my buddy, so you're going to get all the business. And they don't have to do anything. They don't have to compete. They don't have obstacles. They just coast. They don't have to innovate, nothing. And there's very little innovation unless the government puts a gun to their head. Okay? And that's basically the bottom line. So, and Daniel makes the point that most marketing companies do a poor job of communicating their own value. Yes, I do. I admit it. We make a lot of money for people. We've exploded growth for 15 companies in my career, and that's it's hard to communicate, because one other thing about marketing is, there's some compensation for lying. If you tell the truth, if it is true, but it's really good, it sounds too fantastical. I told Dana down at Plow and Hearth, I said, we guarantee a 30% benefit on a uniques test, or we walk away. If we don't beat what you're doing by 30%, we walk away. He said, nobody can do that. I said, yeah, we do it. And of course, if you heard my results lately, we averaged about 160% better gross margin per piece, very, very carefully done. We're not trying to pad the results. We're actually trying to reduce them. And the ROI over the cost of the modeling, which was just out of the gate, the first try, and included 2 months of prep work to build the database, that ROI was still 80%. return on investment, hard dollars, more money in your pocket than what you paid us. And it's not as good as I'd like, but it's way better than 30%. So you start telling that story and everybody goes, he's full of baloney. Can't possibly be true. I've hired guys like that before. I had a client where I did some magical work for him, and every year they have a list of consultants that are available, and I wasn't on it. And one of the internal guys that I know, he says, hey, how come John's not on there? Didn't he do a great job on forecasting, and how to project our results and optimize our circulation? And the owner of the company said, yeah, but consultants usually just have one good idea. And if the better it works, the more likely it is that they don't have another one. So you don't want to keep them around forever. Now, the owner and I became great friends. I don't think he ever hired me again, but we became great friends. And he was very, very helpful in my career. So I don't begrudge him anything. But it was a funny perspective. So marketing is power. And like any power, can be used for good or ill. I didn't know Stan Lee said this. With great power, there must also come great responsibility. I thought it was Solomon in the book of Ecclesiastes, I think. No, that's with increasing knowledge, there's increasing pain. It's probably more realistic. So get out there and get marketing. And I got to learn about this new show, The Marketer as Philosopher, Becoming a Force for Good. I got to track that down. Daniel, I want to hear about your show. Because as far as I know, I'm the only marketing news show in the world. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will think you're smart. Bye-bye.